Hey everybody, welcome to the next interview with our featured band of the week, Murfreesboro Music Scene here, and we are joined with Richard from Not Ashamed.
Howdy.
Thanks for joining us, Richard.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
We got a few band members missing. Would you care to elaborate? First of all, introduce yourself, what your role in the band is, and tell us a little bit about who's not here today, who couldn't make it here today, and
Sure.
what their roles are in the band.
Sure, absolutely. My name's Richard Varno. I am the one of the founders of the band, I guess, lead singer. I also play guitar. There's two other primary members of the band. We may have some fill-in folks as well. There's Don Wonder, who plays drums. He's been with the band since the beginning. He's doing family stuff today. And Rod Hutchinson, who is our bass player, he joined the band a little bit later. He's on a well-deserved vacation with his family on Fall Creek Falls. So I'm glad it finally stopped raining for him.
Yeah.
So
We've had a lot of rain.
at the beginning of his vacation, I was like, oh wow, that's
It's a very great place.
especially if it is a tent. And then we have my wife also plays with the band as well. Her name is Donna Varno. She plays keyboards, guitar, ukulele, mandolin, just kind of what cowbell, whatever needs to be played. She kind of fills in on that. And then we have another guy by the name of Daryl Vining. And he plays cajon, and he does a lot of sometimes we play some smaller acoustic type gigs. He's helped us out, like when we were on WAKM, he came and helped us out for that. And Daryl's a really cool guy as well.
Very cool. You said you were a founding member. Is
Correct.
that correct? So how was the band formed? How did it kind of come to be?
Tony Person and I both worked at the Gideons. That's where I met Tony. We were just talking about him. He recently passed away. And he was, Tony was literally the best guitar player I'd ever met in my life. I mean, he was really amazing. He was Eddie Van Halen level. And so I thought that was really cool. And I dropped out of college to go on the road with a rock and roll band. It's actually how I got saved. I joined a Christian rock and roll band before I knew the Lord, because I just wanted to be on the road.
Sure.
And I knew I'd hung around enough Christians, early in my life to kind of know the lingo. So I guess I was on the fake it till you make it program. And really for the first 6 months I was fine, because I was with a bunch of other guys that basically faked their way in.
Sure.
And so we'd go out and play shows and, tell everybody how wonderful we are. And then after the shows, we'd go party and, do all the things normal rock band did. But it was a group that had 6 or 7 bands. It was a group out of Florida called Young American Showcase. And and so guys would, get moved around from band to band occasionally. People would go home, get caught with high school girl. It's your ticket home. Type deal. So I got moved to a band out in Farmington. They were in New Mexico at the time. I was on the East Coast tour at the time. And these guys were all they knew God. They were on fire for God. I mean, they had just literally cast a demon out of a girl at a show 2 weeks early in Farmington, New Mexico. Yeah, so I mean, crazy, stuff. And so for the first 2 weeks, I was miserable. I was like, man, this is
totally different than what you had.
Yeah, because I wasn't saved, and I was around, like they had you remember those big plastic Coke bottles?
Yep.
Well, they had that in the corner of the bus, and they're like, well, that's the swear jar. So if you say that word, you have to put a quarter in the jar. And so I took out $5 and dropped it in the jar, and told them what I thought of the jar. And but it became very evident to me rapidly that these guys had something I didn't have. They actually knew God. And it was the first time I'd been around anybody up to this point, all I knew about Christians was that they didn't like me because I wasn't one. And that's, unfortunately, that's a bad impression some Christians give to people, where they're not, they're not welcoming. They don't, anyways, like I said, but these guys actually knew God. And so very rapidly I understood that, hey, because I never knew God was real, because I'd never seen him displayed in anybody's life. So very rapidly I came to the point where I made a decision to follow Christ. And, my life was changed. I became a totally different person and spent a few years on the road with that band. It was called Free Fare. And so fast forward, 15 years later, living in Nashville with my wife, and we started listening to Christian music on the radio. And it's funny because this song, do you remember the song How He Loves Us by Crowder? Have you ever heard it?
I think I've heard it.
Okay.
I think I've heard it.
Good song. I love David Crowder, but it was the first time I'd ever heard him, and I thought, this guy can barely even carry a tune. I mean, he's practically singing off key, and that is his style.
Right.
That is, I'm not saying anything bad about him, and I love his music now, and he's a very cool guy. A lot of respect for him. We sing some of the songs. But at the time, I thought, I could do that.
Sure,
Right. Why am I not doing so? So I just, I put a band together, just kind of put out the word, and from the beginning, our message has always been outreach. Our message, the original name of the band was called Get Closer to God, and we eventually changed it just because it was one of those names that it's like nobody ever got it right. You know what I mean? They didn't know how to spell it. They didn't know how to say, was it Closer to God? Was it Get Closer to God?
Sure.
Anyways, so we changed the name of the band to Not Ashamed. Myself, Tony, Don, my wife were the original members. And, up to that point, we'd kind of been like Spinal Tap with bass players. We had one spontaneously combust, and we've gone through a lot of bass players. So we're very happy to have Rod because he's awesome.
Fantastic.
So that's kind of how the band got together. And then, like I said earlier, we played pretty steady. We'd opened for White Cross, played the state fair, stuff, and then just kind of got busy, and guys joined different bands and stuff. And then when Tony passed away, we got together to play his fundraiser concert for his kids, and we just had so much fun. We're like, we needed to be doing this again, and so at every show, our focus is we play music that people want to hear. We try to draw a crowd. We try to play places where there's already a lot of people, and so we can get them around there so we can preach the gospel to them, so we can share, in a healthy way that God loves them, that He wants to have a relationship with them and be a part of their lives.
And with everybody that's come and gone, is there a single person who does like most of the writing, or is it kind of a collective effort? As far as music goes, because you do covers and originals. Yeah,
right? we do. Originally, when we were back when we were Get Closer to God, we only played our original music, and then when we got together at Reveille, we threw in a couple of cover songs like we did the King's X one because that's so much fun, and it got such a response because this thing playing original music in Nashville. If people have never heard your songs before, it's hard for them to really get into it. And I mean, part of we're the purpose that we're there is to entertain people, not to make ourselves look good, and to, like I said, draw a crowd so we can share the love of God with people. So we added a bunch of cover songs all the songs that we have are obviously we filter them to make sure that they're family friendly, I guess is the best way to put it. But we try to, the Apostle Paul said, I become all things to all people. So, and when I was on the road, back with Young American Showcase, all we played was cover songs. We did high schools and junior highs, we do assembly programs and play concerts at night. And we saw, and it was all just popular songs of the day, so people would come and hear it. We saw almost 900 kids come to the Lord in the couple of years that I was doing it. So I mean, it was very powerful and effective. So we play a lot of car shows. That's just for some reason.
Yeah, people get a crowd.
Yeah, I mean, it's good for us because there's already a crowd there, and so we do, in addition to sort of our positive, like Shine by Collective Soul. Okay, that's good grunge 90s song, but it's got, kind of a positive, there's a positive message, or Jesus Just Left Chicago by ZZ Top. That's an awesome, an awesome song. At first my wife was like, I don't know if we should play that song, but if you listen to the words, there's nothing wrong. Yeah. They glorify God. An awesome guitar solo too. That's a lot of fun to play. But we're actually putting together something that we call the Ultimate Car Show Medley, and it's like a 30-minute compilation of every car song, that we could see, Radar, everything from Radar Love to, White Cadillac, Flirting with Disaster, throw a little Red Barchetta in there by Rush, just so kind of a, and that obviously goes, I mean, I think it's obligatory that you have to play Mustang Sally, so, so that's a lot of fun too, and that's where we get a good response from that, so we do that, and then for the church events, we also do, we try to put our own spin on some of the popular worship songs of the day. So, like we've got, I don't know if you've ever heard the song "Good Good Father." It's a, just kind of a praise and worship-y, sing-songy type thing. Well, we sort of do like the Lenny Kravitz meets Chris Tomlin version of it. Cool. So I mean, we try to put our own spin on it. We have a saying, I don't know if you have to edit it out, but it's basically we're trying to put the balls back in Christian music. That's good. You know what I mean? Because I figure so. Because there's and I mean, nothing wrong with some of the popular songs of the day, but so many bands come out and they're like Third Day, the guitar player for Third Day, Brad Avery. When I left the band that I was in years and years ago, he was actually the guy that came out and replaced me. And their first album was a hard rock album. I mean, it had some cojones. And as they got more popular and stuff, their music kind of got just more
watered down, maybe.
Yeah, and I mean, and that's okay. I mean, obviously, it's popular with some people because a lot of people buy their records. Mm-hmm. But being kind of an old rock and roll guy, I miss that.
The weight that the old.
If you ever hear some of like the old Ted Nugent interviews, he's like, I lost the hearing in my ear, but it's a small price to pay, man. It's like we're just. So, anyways, but I mean, you got to have that because I believe there's still a lot of rockers out there, and I mean, that type of music appeals to them. So
yeah, I know you touched on it a little bit, but what message are you trying to give through your music? Like, what would you want fans to take away from your show?
Really, more than anything, is that God's real. He loves them. He sent His Son to die for their sins, and that He wants to have a relationship with them. And it's not about I gotta cut my hair. I gotta do, wear a suit and tie. I've gotta, obviously when you decide to follow the Lord, there may be some things in your life that change because, there may be some destructive habits that you have that God, for your own sake doesn't want you to do. But so many people think that Christianity is don't do this and don't do that and don't do this and don't do that. And Jesus, that's not what Jesus taught. Jesus said, "Come unto me, all ye who are weary and heavy laden, and I'll give you rest." He's like, Jesus paid for our sins. Do we go around trying to sin? No. But are we going to sin? Probably. You know what I mean? And there's a payment for that sin. I'm not saying that we just go live however we want to just because Jesus paid for it, but we need to focus on the relationship, not on the rules and the regulations and the because if your heart's after to follow God, all that other stuff, what did Jesus say? Somebody came and said, "How can I fulfill all the law?" And Jesus said, "What's the most important commandment? Love the Lord your God with all your heart, your soul, your mind, your strength. Love your neighbor as yourself." And He says, if you do those two things, the entirety of all of the law can be summed up in those two commandments. So that's really what the message is, God's real. He loves you. He wants to know you. You were created by Him, for Him. You'll never be happier. You'll never be more complete than when you're serving Him in the center of His will.
So what inspires you?
All kinds of things. God's creation. If you take a minute and stop looking at your phone and look around at, we live in Tennessee. It's one of like the prettiest places.
Yeah.
I toured all over the United States. The first show we ever played was in Smithville, Tennessee. I grew up in like Illinois, cornfield country. My wife's from O'Hare Airport. So if we can just get good Italian beef down here, I'd be happy.
Yeah.
Although I've heard there's a couple places around that you know,
just gotta look for it.
not Portillo's, but anyways, I mean, just you know, you look at the hills and the mountains and the trees and the we're very blessed. The property that we live on has some, you know, 100-year-old trees that are this big around, and that's, you know, I look at that and it makes me happy. I mean, I'm inspired by that. You look at the stars at night. You look at the way God changes people's lives. You just look at you know, David said, you know, who is man that you're mindful of him? David was blown away by the fact that the God that created everything that we see actually cares about us. So that's you know, for as much as I screw up and fail, and that's very inspiring to me.
I think the next question was going to be, what do you label your band as? But that's kind of I think we've, from what you've told us thus far, you would be considered a Christian rock band?
Yeah.
Or a rock band that has, you know, Christian values.
I'd say more of a rock band that has Christian values.
Yeah.
Our original songs are, some of them are pretty hardcore in your face Christian, some of them not so much. But you know, they all have that message, because that's the primary relationship in our life. You know, if you look at all good music that really moves people, it's generally music that has a message. It's music that is
inspires you, kind of.
It's about something that people can connect with.
Right.
Okay. You know, country music. You know, it's, you know, my wife left, my dog left, my truck died. You know,
everyday real life problems.
It's everyday real life problems that, you know. But fortunately, if you play those records backwards, they get very happy. You get your dog back, you get your truck back, you get your wife back. Yeah. You know, but or you know, love songs. You know, it's about a relationship between a man and a woman, and that dynamic there. It's something that, or I mean, even the driving songs. You know, if you're on a road trip and you put on Radar Love, you know, there's a connection there. So when I write music, and to answer your question, I write a lot of the music, but it's also very collaborative type.
Yeah.
You know, it's not just I come in and say this is the way it's going to be. You know, we all kind of throw in together, and I probably kind of the music director of.
Sure.
You know, usually I say, hey, here's what I want, and then we try it, and if it doesn't work, you know, well, let's try this, and, you know, what do you think? And, you know, so, I mean, it's a very collaborative, like this whole thing with Good Father, we've probably been through, you know, 5 different versions of it as we're really tweaking it, and we're excited. We're actually playing Sunday over here at the Capitol Theater in Lebanon. It's called Music City Voice, which I'm not into the whole, like, competition. I don't know how you get a worship band competition. It's sort of an oxymoron for me. But you know, I get what they're trying to do with it, and so we thought it would be fun because one, you know, anytime we can be exposed to, you know, we thought, well, maybe there's some church groups there and they'll hear our music and we can play for their church event or you know that. But you know, I really wanted to play this new version of this song that the Good Father that we have. That's you know, it's a tremendous amount of fun for us to do because, like I said, it's really like Lenny Kravitz meets Chris Tomlin. Very groove and like, you know, some of the grooves that Prince used to do, and like Prince was just like famous for just showing up at places unannounced. And I mean, if you've ever heard his band is
so
ridiculously tight.
Yeah.
And really, one of the things that we're striving for in our group is to have that sort of tightness and cohesiveness, and we do a lot of things in our music that you know, lots of little you know, little breaks and little things that add to the music and support it, but it's not just try to be a little above your average garage band type.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Because you gotta have, because
you gotta stand out.
You gotta stand out, but also music to me is one of the most powerful forces on earth. It literally, some people would say that music reflects culture, but I would argue that music actually shapes culture in a lot of instances. And we, one of the reasons for that is music can bypass your intellectual mind and speak directly to your spirit.
Sure.
Yeah. And which is, it's one of the reasons why it's kind of, you have to be a little careful what you listen to, because, depending on your relationship with God and what you want to allow in your life, there's some music that will alter that. You listen to depressing, angry music long enough, and you're going to become a depressed, angry person.
Sure.
You know what I mean? It's going to affect you in some way. Now, obviously, if you are already depressed and angry, maybe that music connects with you and makes you feel like, somebody else understands you. So I'm not saying there's not necessarily a place for it.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point, though.
But because of that, it's a real long answer to your question. That message for us in our music literally comes out of our relationship with God. Because if I'm just getting out my rhyming dictionary and trying to come up with something that sounds reasonably Christian, it's not going to affect anybody. It's not going to mean anything. It's not going to,
people can tell when something comes from the heart, no matter what.
Right, exactly.
No matter what it is.
There's, and it's got to connect with people. And one of our songs, we got a song called "God Is Not Your Problem," and I wrote it at a time in my life that things weren't necessarily going great. And it's a song of. There's some frustration in that song.
Mm-hmm.
Where the opening line of the song is. Life's not fair. Sometimes your hair doesn't do the things you want it to. You look inside your inner child and find out he doesn't like you. And that was important to me at the time, and we found that it's connected with other people. And it goes on to, explain that, don't be mad at God. He's not your problem. He's the one with the solution. Or one of our other songs, Salt, which is kind of our theme song for our band. It was the name of our first album. When I wake up in the morning and your mercies are new, I gotta thank you. And that, to me, that is, if people get a hold of that God's mercy is new every morning. And, yesterday ended last night. And no matter how much you screwed up yesterday, you got a fresh chance today. And that never ceases to help me and inspire me.
What's the best show you think you've played thus far? I mean, you've been in a band for almost a decade, on and off, but as far as a show that stands out in your mind.
The show at Revelry for Tony, I don't want to say that's the best show because it was a tremendous amount of fun. But under bad circumstances, probably the best show I think we've had so far is when we played the State Fair, the Tennessee State Fair, because it was, it's a good crowd. We had some sort of guest performers come on. Had actually a group come out from, not a group, but some of our friends came out from Arkansas. And one of our songs, it's called God Never Loses. And it's this real slow, bluesy, song with, 14 guitar solos in it. And, it's just after every verse you can put a guitar solo in there. So, it's a good for, like when we opened with White Cross, we had Rex Carroll came up and did a guitar duel with Tony. And so that was cool. So we had that, and there was this little girl that, she's probably 20 now, but at the time she was, I think, like 8 or 9 years old, and she just started playing bass. And, it's a real easy, slow groove, and, basically one note, da-da-da-da. So she got up and played bass with us, and that was a cool, it was just a cool, it was a cool thing. Very so nice. That's always fun. But we got some other ones coming up that we're looking forward to, that we're hoping we haven't peaked yet, I guess.
We've been around for enough time, so you probably have a pretty dedicated fan base. What are you hoping that your fans, or what can your fans expect from Not Ashamed for, say, just the rest of the year? What do you guys have in the works?
A bunch more car shows coming up. Like I said, that's been a big thing for us, and really our big focus is to kind of move. We're doing some additional writing, but we also want to move more into ministry at the actual shows and more into outreach. Like every show, we always take time to stop and share the gospel. That's, I won't play a show where they don't let us do that, and or sometimes I guess they don't invite you back after you've done it. But
That's not stopping.
Yeah, it's not stopping us from that. But also, our pastor comes to a lot of our shows, and he's very supportive of Good Universe Church over here, Lebanon. He's big Harley guy. Drives a Harley.
Yeah.
So he's just a cool guy, and he's miracles abound. We see people get healed at church literally every week. We see lives changed. We see literally miracles happen. Bona fide, like doctor said you were going to die and now the person's okay type miracles. Not I had a headache and it's gone away. We've seen deaf ears open. We've seen blind eyes open. We've seen, pretty much everything it talks about in the Bible that we're all still supposed to be doing. So one of the things we're focused on are more at these shows where we have a lot of people is actually setting up kind of an area where people can come get prayed for, in addition to just, because people need prayer. We all need prayer.
If you could go on tour with one band, who would it be?
AC/DC's not on tour anymore. But like playing in their band or opening for them? Opening for them.
Direct support. Tour package.
That is a good question. Well, AC/DC, I guess, until, like I said, they're not touring anymore because of their issue. I still pray for Angus Young. He's one of my favorite guitar players.
They've been doing it for so long, too.
Yeah. Probably Third Days on their farewell tour. That would be fun. But, I'd be hassling them because I have a problem with farewell tours because it never really seems like it's the actual farewell tour.
They say that.
It's like the next unless you're dead, it's like, unless you're driving your car, bus off the end of off the cliff at the end of the tour, we don't really know that it's your farewell tour.
Right. How many farewell tours has Motley Crue done?
Right, exactly. So that's maybe ZZ Top would be hugely fun to open for, or any of these like southern rock bands. Leonard Skinner is obviously not around anymore, although we do play Freebird on request. One of my favorite guitar solos of all time. I don't know why people complain so much about playing Freebird. It's like one of the funnest. It's one of the funnest songs you can ever play.
Sure.
So generally the people that have a problem with Freebird are the people that can't play it. I think is what it's been, but it's but yeah. Yeah, probably either, like I said, either Third Day or some. I actually probably wouldn't play for a Christian band. I probably would open for, I don't know who the popular rock and roll bands anymore. I'm kind of an old guy. Most of my,
A lot of those bands are still out there now.
I guess if the Stones are still out there, we could open for them. But
I think
nobody could afford the tickets, so apparently some people are.
So we usually like to end with a fun question.
Okay.
if you could play any
These have all been
superhero,
fun questions.
if you could play any superhero in a movie, who would it be, and why would you choose that one?
I could play any superhero in a movie, who would it be? If I could be any superhero?
Mm-hmm.
Like you're that hero.
It would either be probably Wolverine, Iron Man, or Deadpool. So I know Deadpool's probably not the Christian answer, but yeah, but you know,
who wouldn't want to be Deadpool?
Exactly. You know what I mean? It's basically the superhero. Deadpool is the superhero everybody would actually be,
right,
if they had those powers.
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah.
That's a great answer. That pretty much wraps up the questions that we had today. And thank you for taking so much time and for being so in depth with your answers. Last thing we always like to hear about is any upcoming shows that you guys have planned that you want to plug on the channel. Let people know where they can find you on social media, website, stuff like that. So it's all yours.
Absolutely. Tomorrow, come out and see us at the Music City Voice, and we're running a thing right now because we really want to get some video of this new song that we're doing. If you'll come out and video it on your phone, our 3-minute deal, or if we progress, I guess it's 2 songs. We'll buy your ticket to the show. First 5 people only. So just message us on Facebook. On Facebook, it's Facebook.com/wearenotAshamed. And our website is notashamedband.com. I think that's our only social media. We're trying to get our Reverb Network,
Reverb Nation.
Yeah, Reverb
music.
Nation thing.
That's great. So people can get your music from shows or from.
We got some. We usually pass out some CDs at the shows, and then eventually we're gonna, most of our existing CDs that we have are from before when we had Tony in the band. We'll probably do some re-recording. Kind of hesitant to because he was like 100 times better than I am. So, and then also, anything that he played on, if we ever do become famous, his family gets a portion of that. So,
fantastic.
So, anyways, it's so yeah.
All right. Well, everybody, please, if you're interested in what you listened to today or watched today, thank you, Richard, for joining us. Check them out on Facebook at Facebook.com/wearenotAshamed.
Cool.
And then their website, which is notashamedband.com.
Yep.
So this has been a lot of fun. Thanks again so much. And everybody, check out Not Ashamed.
Cool. And we do car shows, church events, bar mitzvahs, or anywhere there's a group of people we can plug for. We're happy to do it.
All
Thanks.
Right. Sounds great. Thank you.